Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Kieran, for those on Zoom. I'm the student president at Hild Bede. I'm going to kind of lead us through the evening and just get everyone to speak about what they're here to speak about. It's just a really exciting project. So here today, we've got obviously Simon, the principal, and Steph, our alumni development officer, who's done a lot of the kind of back-end work on the project. We've also got various people in Zoom on who will introduce themselves as and when. But yeah, so it's very exciting. I guess I'll hand over to Simon for some opening words.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to stand up. I feel like I can only speak when I stand up. Thanks very much, Kieran. Thank you, everybody, for joining us virtually, wherever you are in the world. I was trying to calculate. We've probably got 3 continents, at least, in Zoom. Maybe we count as the 4th, I guess. Anyway, so we're doing quite well. And to those that could be with us in person this evening and others who are joining us online, I guess, are we going to try and capture this, Steph, with everyone's permission?
Yeah,
to record. Okay, so we're also saying a big hi for those who are watching us on catch up. I want to say a huge thank you to especially colleagues who've joined us, given up your time, lunchtime, I think, for at least somebody. Is that right? I can't remember. And everybody here for early evening. We're just enjoying the beginnings of what we think might be a quite exciting British winter. It started to snow this afternoon, and just outside Durham on the high hills, it started to settle. So we're looking forward to a bit of breath of warmth air from other parts of the world. I'm really excited about it. So I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you, Steph, for just kind of conceptualizing this entire project. And I think particularly at the beginning, working very closely with Sam, who we'll hear from shortly, in formulating this idea. This is a really unique thing for us to try and do as a college, which is to form a series of partnerships with a number of individuals across quite a wide range of organisations to create the possibility for members of our college, student members of our college, to be part of the extraordinary projects you'll hear about tonight. Oh, yeah, how are you doing? Okay. I won't spoil telling what the projects are about, because you'll get a flavour from what I did want to say was this. The reason it seems so important and appealing to me is we know how much energy there is in the community here, as well as across the university as a whole, around issues that are to do with the environment in one form or another, the world in which we live. And what's been interesting in seeing this develop is the way it's bringing together what I would kind of categorize variously as issues about ecology, about environment, about communities and development and sustainability, about climate, actually, and of course, nested within that, wildlife, right? And the sustaining, the return, the restoration and protection of the environment in parts of the world where it's under really significant threat, both through human intervention and other matters. And so for that reason, it felt to me like this was a really worthwhile thing to try and get some traction and provide some opportunities. So tonight, we wanted to give you an opportunity to hear from people who are all part of this amazing project and its allied components. Less from me, and we weren't going to give you a lot of detail tonight about how it will work, just to say, I'm happy to take questions on this at the end, but our plan is to be able to provide this bit of an introduction tonight, and then early in the new year, so sometime after Christmas, we'll come out with a whole load of information about the kind of process we want to set up to allow people to get engaged with it. But essentially, what we want to do is to try and offer an opportunity for people to express interest after Christmas, and then work with you around how we might help you turn that into engagement with the project. We'll also be after, so we'll do that through an application process, and we're also identified already, and we'll continue to work to identify some of the sources of financial support that are accessible through our college, because we're really lucky to have those on the basis of donor gifts largely, that might be ways that we can support people who express an interest in doing this, at least in part. It might be hard to support anybody, total with the cost, but we want to try and make it accessible in that way. So I just wanted to say, welcome. I hope you're going to get something out. It is exciting. We already had a little bit of a flavour of a conversation about some boys, which I think were not boys, but cheetahs, who made their way back to the wild, having been rescued from poaching, I guess. And we'll hear a bit about that, but I really want to stop there and just hand over to Steph to say a little bit about how the project came about and perhaps why it's important to you, if that's okay. The floor's yours, Steph.
Hi, everybody. Sam, Reilly, Candice, Catherine, Nathalie, thank you so much for giving up some of your time to be here tonight. The students are in the middle of their exams at the moment, so with the recording, everybody will be able to kind of catch up with this later on as well. And a big thank you, I have to say, first single-handedly was actually to my friend Stephanie, And she's the one who put me in contact with Sam. And Sam Turley is a wildlife conservationist who's based in the UK and Portugal, but has done a lot of work at Imire and has been following the cheetahs, the rhinos, has been doing a whole volunteering program. And what was going to be just a career talk ended up Sam asking me if we wanted to collaborate and see if we could get some students over to Imire. I can just pass it on to Nathalie, because maybe Nathalie can explain how to take on some of Steph's role as you used to do Parc Safari as well.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here tonight with you. I'm always happy to talk about my passion. And of course, my passion comes with a lot of very important people in partnership. So thank you, Reilly. We went through a lot of things together to get the 2 cheetahs to Zimbabwe. So Parc Safari has been around for 50 years. So it is a very big zoological institution in Canada. I will let Stephanie go more in details of all the of how Parc Safari came about. But what I can tell you is I worked at Parc Safari for 18 years. I was the director of zoology and conservation. So in 2013, we decided to create a breeding, a conservation and breeding program for cheetahs, specifically cheetahs. We have many different programs at the park, but cheetahs became one of our biggest and the one that we committed the most at the park. So in 2013, we got involved with the SSP program. SSP program is Species Survival Plan, Management Plan. So it's basically throughout the world, all the gene pool is put into a program. And basically the program will tell Parc Safari, your male, and then they all have their own numbers with the stud book, should be breeding with this female. That could be in Europe, it could be in South Africa, it could be in the States, it could be anywhere in the world. So it's the facility that has to make that happen. And this is how it came about. So we had Pendo, the male, and Cleo, the female. That was one of the most valuable pair for breeding in North America. So we did breed, we were successful breeding the 2 of them for the first litter. And then on the second litter, after talking to different partners and see the opportunity to start a rewilding program. So that's when we had a second litter with Pendo and Cleo. And that's when Kumbi and Jabari came about. It has been absolutely amazing working with Aspinall Foundation, which is Derek is not here today, and Reilly, well, the entire team in Imire, to start the program and start the process to how do we get 2 cheetah cubs born in captivity in Canada, and to prepare them to be successful into a natural habitat in Africa. So I can tell you guys that before we start even thinking about the cats, there's a lot of paperwork involved. It's enormous. And that's when you need a lot of partnerships throughout the world and to help. You know, we had to, obviously, Reilly can maybe talk about it a little bit, but we obviously had to have permission from the Zimbabwe government, which they did, obviously. But then everything from the medical part of it, all the testing on the cats, and then the custom, because sending 2 cheetahs from Canada to Zimbabwe, you just don't put them into a transport crate and send them off. So there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of preparation that goes into it. And you have to have an amazing broker, custom broker, that will be your best friend throughout the journey. When all the paperwork is kind of settling in and everything is going well, then that's when you start the process of choosing the specific animal. So why are we choosing to bring back cheetahs back to Zimbabwe? After like this, that was Derek part, the Hasbro Foundation was able to see a need in Zimbabwe. The population in Zimbabwe is struggling. From what I can understand, the meadow population are need diversity a little bit. So that's why bringing a very valuable genetic cheetahs back to Zimbabwe was so important. And Imire was very, very good and willing to take the boys on, knowing the challenges that could come with 2 captive born cheetahs and rewild them. So we, Kumbi and Jabari actually were born into a litter of 4. So there was 2 females and 2 boys, 2 males. After the 6-7 week period of time, when mom would allow the keepers, us, to interact with the cubs a little bit more and wasn't so overprotective, that's when we started to do a few tests. When I say test, is mostly who has the most instinct, which cubs had the most interaction with any kind of prey item or any interest in whole food and things like that. So there was a big process of elimination to be able to find the proper cubs to put into the rewilding program. So because I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to make this short. Basically, Kumbi and Jabari were the ones that were chosen. And after that choice, we obviously dealt with them differently because we did not want them to get used to people on the fact that they were going to be rewild. We wanted them to be comfortable enough, but not comfortable to come and ask for food or any kind of need from humans. So we had to, throughout their, cheetah cubs, they do grow very fast. Captivity, sometimes our problem is the lack of muscle mass because they don't have to hunt, they don't have to run, everything is served to them. So as soon as our choice was made, we made sure that Kumbi and Jabari had a lot of exercise, and we forced them to work for their food and to get involved in prey item, because if you only give them meat that is prepared for them, then they don't know what to do with a full prey item. So they were fed on carcass from a very, very young age. And they had to figure out, how do I get to that meat? Because there's fur and there's all kinds of stuff in the way. So they had to work for their food, which I think helped the transition when they were in Imire. And I think Reilly can say the same. I have been extremely impressed by the boys and how fast and quick they adapted to Zimbabwe, the African life, and how good they were able to get into that hunting space of mind, if you want. They made kills right after being out of quarantine, which I think everybody was like, we were all surprised that they were able to actually make kills right after they were out. They've never been supplemented. They've been hunting for themselves ever since they've been gone. So did they make a few mistakes in the way? Yes, they did, which Reilly can talk about a little bit more as he was there. But that's part of living in the wild. A wild cheetah would have those mistakes, could get hurt through a hunt. Like, there's always, life is all about mistake. You learn from your mistake. And that's what the boys had to do. They don't have a mother to teach them, but I think they did very well. The only thing I would actually change is we sent the boys in January, end of January, beginning of February. And again, Reilly can tell you that they had their winter fur on, and they got to Zimbabwe. They were very, very hot for a while, so they had to shed all that fur. So it's a little things like this that you don't think about, but it does have an impact. on the cats, as you know, in a situation like this. So they came from the night we created them for transport, it was minus 23. And it was quite warmer in Zimbabwe. So if you add the heat and the stress of transport and then being on a long journey in a plane, that's something that I would definitely change, and it would be an export and an import in Africa in the summertime here, so they don't have to deal with the adaptation of the weather. So I know it sounds very stupid, but this is like a stress that we could eliminate from the whole situation. So basically is we want Kumbin-Jabari's gene in Zimbabwe and spread it out a little bit through the country. Cheetahs have a hard time throughout Africa. Zimbabwe is maybe struggling a little bit more than other African countries. But I think this is the beginning. It's a beginning anyway to help to bring new gene pool to wild population, and just to show that even if the cats are born in captivity, there is a way to bring them back and try to help the wild population. Obviously, we always want to help the wild population. This is our main goal, and it's always the wild population that we have in our minds. So if captivity can help out, that's fantastic. And our role in the zoo is to keep gene pool very strong, healthy gene pool. So breeding programs are extremely important. It's a lot of scientific data that goes into it. And that's the only way we can actually help wild population, is to keep the captive population healthy, very strong. And then we can do artificial insemination, individuals being rewild, and there's so many different layers that would take so much time to explain. But so that was the whole point of this program, was to bring new gene pool to Zimbabwe. So I don't know if I went over my time. Did I?
No, it's all good, Nat. It's super interesting.
Okay. I'm at, right now, I work for cheetah conservation funds in Somaliland, which is in Africa. I'm back home for the holidays. It's a different world, and I'm sure it happens everywhere in Africa, but we are working with the illegal wildlife trade, especially in cheetahs. So at the moment, we have 25% of the whole population in our care. So it's a very scary situation for the northern subspecies of cheetah. And we are working extremely hard to stop this really bad trade. Especially that the northern subspecies is only estimated to be 300 to 500 individuals in the wild. At the moment in our care, we have over 95 individuals. So there's plenty of level of conservation and needs to help species. So
Thank you so much, Nat.
thank you.
And that's Nat has agreed to actually give a career talk next term while she's in Somaliland, and then show some images and talk about some of the incredible work going over there. So thank you so much, Nat.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Nathalie.
you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well.
Yeah.
So my name is Reilly Travers. I'm the director of Imire and Wildlife Conservation based in Zimbabwe. The Imire's been here for 3 generations. And yeah, I'm just in a very privileged position to be at the head of Imire, running the Conservancy at the moment. Let me hand you over to my wife.
Hi everyone, I'm Candice Travers. So I run the community side of Imire. Reilly will go into more detail of how Imire works. But yeah, community conservation is our strategy, and I work closely with the community on the boundary of the Conservancy. Yeah,
so I think just a little bit more on Imire. So Imire is a it's a relatively small conservancy, 4,500 hectares. And yes, as Candice said, we run a community conservation strategy, which we feel is what's needed to restore biodiversity, restore relationships with communities, and to ensure the survival of wildlife in Africa. And our model is unique in how we run it. And the results we feel are really showing and paying dividend for our strategy that we've implemented. So yeah, I think where to start. Our focus is predominantly the preservation of endangered species. So we started off with rhino. We got our first rhino introductions in 1986. The park actually started in 1972. And black rhino has been our focus. We've introduced rhino back into the wild from Imire back in the 90s and the early 2000s. And yeah, it was an incredibly successful program. And today we're looking at doing the same again with cheetah and continuing our rhino work.
White rhino.
Yeah, no, we've also got white rhino on the property at the moment. So we've got huge diversity in terms of wildlife there. We've got from elephant, white and black rhino, cheetah, and then all your plains game from your giraffe, kudu, zebra, nyala, waterbuck, eland, sable, all the way down to your duiker, stembuck. So we've got a huge diversity of species on the property. And yeah, tourism is our focus, and research. We're getting into as much research as we can at the moment, because we are in a unique place. We've got a unique habitat, and there's such valuable information we can gain. Obviously, we've got Catherine who works on the research side, and she brings a lot of science to our operation, which is really effective. And I mean, in terms of our black rhino, we've got, I think, one of the longest standing black rhino research programs in Africa. Correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, which has been incredible, and all credit to Catherine and the scouts on the ground. Yeah, it's groundbreaking data that we're collecting, and hopefully, we'll be able to pass on, as well as now this cheetah work that we're doing at the moment. The information and data that we're gathering from there is pretty incredible. But yeah, just going on to a bit more of what our focus is and what we're trying to do. We feel education is critical to the survival of species, the survival of wildlife in Africa. And so with that, trying to get people out here to see what we do, get behind the scenes and understand what it takes to run a conservancy in Africa, the challenges, the reality on the ground, paint the real picture, because I think that's what is important, is sending people back with the correct information, the right information of what's happening on the ground. And Imire is in a very unique place where we offer that, and it's something that we do. And I can quite honestly say 98% of the people that leave here leave just a lot more aware of what's happening on the ground, the importance of preservation of wildlife, the importance of the preservation of biodiversity in Africa, and the challenges that we up against. And we up against huge challenges out here. It's a daily struggle. But going back to that education, the more people see, the more people understand, the more people believe, the awareness. I think those all contribute, are huge contributing factors to the preservation of wildlife in Africa. And so we're going to continue doing that.
And also the positivity to show that there are solutions, and there are solutions that we can all be part of. And I think that's a really exciting part of coming to Imire and being part of Imire, is that you can be part of a solution. You can look into the future and see how your individual contribution makes a difference. And I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I think an important thing I'd like to put across is, you know, our dream, our goal is to create heaven on earth. That's what we're trying to do, and to leave it in a better place for the next generation. That's what we're striving to do every single day we wake up, and I think it's important because it's you know, the human population is growing. These pristine wildlife areas are getting smaller and smaller by the day. Species are going extinct by the day, and it's up to us. It's our generation it sits on our shoulders, and I think everybody here on Imire wants to takes that responsibility and is playing their part to make a difference where we can.
A community conservation strategy is how we believe the best way to protect wildlife, and that for us means that wildlife benefits everybody. So we ensure that everyone living around the Conservancy is benefiting as much as possible, whether that is through education programs, being involved in the schools, whether that's empowering our local women and girls through various different programs. So we do a lot of workshops, we do literacy programs which volunteers get involved in. We have various initiatives such as providing sanitary wear to young girls and women in our community, and all of these reforestation projects, all of these projects allow every member of our community to feel the benefit of wildlife and to understand that wildlife are there for the betterment of everybody's life, and that Africa has something really unique to offer, and that is these wild spaces and these beautiful animals, and it's in everyone's interest to protect them. And yeah, so we believe that's a really vital part of our strategy, is to ensure that every single person in a community feels the benefit and understands the importance of biodiversity. It's no good trying to explain to someone who's not gotten enough food to eat that they shouldn't eat an animal from our park. So we're trying to ensure that we always are mindful of creating empowerment opportunities, creating job opportunities, and yeah, those sort of programs we've found to have a huge impact on the success of our wildlife conservation.
I think just to add in there, you know, there's a couple of little stories that I think that I try and share with people, because I see the importance of it, and I think to the most people it's not as big as it seems, but for us on the ground here, and I think you can refer this to any other conservation organization, we feel it's massive. I mean, we've had species getting outside of the Conservancy. We've had rhino getting outside of the Conservancy. We've had impala getting out of the Conservancy. We've had community members who phone us, communicate to us, sometimes have caught certain species and return them to the park. Now, that is unheard of. And I think the big thing here that what we're trying to get across here is a community conservation strategy isn't just a quick fix solution to a problem. This is a long-term relationship trust that we've built over 3 generations to get to the point where we are today. And we feel why it's been so successful, our strategy, is because the community trusts us, and therefore there's a relationship between us. And we're not just trying to, a quick fix solution, building a school and then be done with it. We here for the next generations. We want to hand this baton over to the next generation. So obviously, whatever we commit ourselves to, it's got to be sustainable, it's got to be long-term, and it's got to be impacting. And I think that's the reason why we feel it's been successful so far.
Thank you, everybody that's listening live, and some of the people that might be listening afterwards to the recorded version. So So my role previously at Imire, so I worked at Imire for just shy of 4 years. And in that time, I was running the volunteer program. So Reilly and Candice mentioned there, tourism is a vital part of how Imire operates. And I was running the volunteer program there. And I think it's an extremely unique program. It's open to any age volunteer from any nationality. And during this program, every week is completely different, but we generally try to stick to 3 different groups of activities. So the first group of activities is wildlife orientated activities. So for this Durham University trip, that's going to be quite heavily focused on the research element, which is with black rhino and cheetah. And I won't talk about this too much because Catherine will fill us in on all the incredible work that she has done at Imire with research. But it's a really incredible opportunity for you guys to then get involved with research on the ground, see how this research takes place, and also to then understand the benefits of this research, not only to Imire, but to the wildlife globally, not just in Africa, not just in Zimbabwe, but globally, and how this research really can help species all across the world. So it's an incredible opportunity to get involved with the research elements and wildlife. The other group, which Candice and Reilly have just mentioned, other group of activities, is community work. So a lot of the community work is vital to the conservation of wildlife. And different activities that we have can involve the women's support group, which is women empowerment schemes, also into local schools. Candice mentioned the literacy rates. There's also a clinic that has been built through funding from the volunteer program, which offers healthcare to local people. So there's a lot of different community elements that you can be involved with in this project as well. And from being at Imire, you'll gain a real sense of just how important that community element is to wildlife. You can't conserve wildlife without the community and vice versa. There has to be a benefit to both. And this program is an incredible opportunity to be involved with some of these projects. And then finally, the one that some people may dread, but actually find the most beneficial, is the physical labor element. So that can be something from building a road, for example, which is really important if there's a poaching incident, so that rangers and anti-poaching can move through the conservancy. Maybe building a fence line, so that can be obviously to keep animals in, to keep other people out, or something like that. So the fence line is really important. It could be anything that needs to be done around the conservancy. And we couldn't tell you now what will need to be done later if you are lucky enough to visit Imire. These changes and the pressures are changing constantly. So these different kind of wants and needs of the conservancy will change. And I think Candice mentioned as well, it's an opportunity to see the direct benefit of your actions to conservation and to the conservancy. You know, if you go to fix a road, you can see now that this road is done within 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions. You fix this road and it's vital to the operation of that conservancy. So those are the 3 elements. I won't go into the nitty gritty of the program that we're offering to you. That's something we can send out in the information packs afterwards. But those are the 3 elements: the wildlife, the community, and also the physical manual work. So our plan is, Steph and I have worked on a program together. So we're going to tailor this program exactly to you guys, to Durham University, with your needs and the interests and what you really want to gain out of this project. And then, yeah, once you're on the ground, that's what we'll be doing. It's an intensive program. It's a lot of fun. And as Reilly mentioned before as well, it's from running the program for 4 years, the volunteer program, I've seen people do change during the course, whether they come for a week or 2 weeks or up to 8 weeks. People do change their mentality. They really gain an understanding of what it takes to conserve wildlife, the importance of wildlife for people, not only in Zimbabwe and around Imire, but globally. And it really is a unique program that I think you will really get life-changing benefits from. I think I won't go into too much detail. I think that gives a nice overview of kind of what we're offering.
So Catherine, do you want to talk about your really fascinating research that you're doing in biology with the animals?
Sure. Before I get into that, I just want to briefly introduce myself, because I think what Sam just ended on, saying that spending time at Imire can be very life-changing. I'm a little bit of the poster child for that. So when I was at university, I also applied for funding, and my university funded me to go to Imire as a volunteer. That was in 2011. I was not studying anything environmentally, biologically, scientifically related as an undergraduate in university, and I just wanted a different experience. I actually was looking forward to the manual labor. And I went to Imire for 8 weeks. I was, I think, 20 or 21 years old, and it really truly shifted the course of what I do now. So after Imire, I eventually went back to Imire after I graduated and worked there for 2 years as a manager, kind of similar to the position Sam worked in. And it really opened my eyes to the ecological side of things. So it's amazing working in the management. I love working in the tourism side of things, and being with the community is truly life-changing. But for me, living day in and day out and seeing these climate, wildlife, plant ecosystem interactions, I wanted to understand more about those. So I went back to the States and did my master's, and I'm now doing my PhD. But for my master's research, I was really lucky that I knew Imire so well, and I kind of got this idea that something we could take advantage of at Imire, because it's such a living laboratory. Like Reilly says, it's not a huge conservancy. It's extremely accessible, and the up close interactions you have, not only to the wildlife, but just being able to walk around and be in that space, is extremely, extremely unique. You're not just on the back of a safari car. Nothing wrong with that. Like, it's an amazing way to spend a vacation, but to really actually be in the thick of things with someone who can teach you. And every single person, from the volunteer managers to Sam to Reilly to all the rangers and scouts, can teach you so much at Imire and really open your eyes. And that's what happened for me. And I thought, you know, if we're seeing all these things on a day-to-day basis, we should be capturing them in some scientific way. So we started the rhino monitoring program. That was my master's project. And the Imire Rangers and I kind of designed that program to be very ranger-led. And it's day-to-day data collection, just very basic rhino behavior, where they are, what they're doing, and what they're eating. And that was kind of our foundation. And we were able to look at these data spatially. So where are the rhino using space? How are they using space? And then slowly this grew and expanded when the cheetah came, like Nathalie described. We expanded this to the cheetah program as well, which really gave us a better idea of how the cheetah are hunting, where they're spending time at the Conservancy. How is their hunting impacting our prey population? Reilly just listed all of those plains game species. These are things that are really vital to understand how something like a reintroduction project, or adding more rhino to your conservancy, or off-taking rhino to your conservancy, can really play into the greater ecosystem dynamics in such a small, delicate space. So for my PhD now, it actually doesn't really have anything to do with Imire. This is kind of just something that has grown over the past, I don't know, since 2016, that we've expanded, and it's separate from the research I do now as a spatial ecologist, but it all ties in the same. So I'm always very excited to kind of design programs or incorporate students or volunteers into programs that they're most interested in. But I think it's also really important to maybe try something you're not so interested in. As someone who did that, it really did change your life. So if you think you just are very excited to spend time with cheetah or the rhinos, I have found that really understanding the plants that are around you and understanding which plants the rhinos are eating for which reason can just enhance your experience in the bush that much more. So my goal for you all is to provide options that you can get involved in, whether it's monitoring the cheetah and recording cheetah behavior with the rangers, or monitoring what the rhinos are eating with the rhino scouts, or going around and doing surveys of rhino middens, which is where rhinos defecate in the same place, but it's a really important landscape feature to figure out how they create their home ranges, to even going around and marking what plants they're eating to create a book for the rangers to study and start to learn their plants better. So for me, the options are really endless, and I like to design things both with the Rangers and with you all. So I'm happy to answer any questions or to talk more with Sam and whoever else about what you guys might like to do. But that's kind of that's where I sit. And there's a lot of data too. If anyone's here for the statistics, you let me know, because I have plenty of data for you to analyze as well. Yeah, let me know if you want me to fill in any gaps there. But
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Catherine. It's Simon. I've stood up, so it's obvious it's me, isn't it? The one who stood up is doing the talking. Can I say a huge thank you to you, and going backwards then 3 times, to Sam, Candice, Reilly, and of course Nathalie, who opened up for us for that really, I hope, kind of interesting little flavour of what the project is at Imire and these various other kind of components and interesting players in it. I mean, if you're all cool with this, guys, I'd quite like to just open up the floor to see if we've got any immediate questions. They might be for you, they might be for us, there might be none. That's not unusual as well, because it's quite a lot to consume here. But has anybody got anything they want to ask? Because I'm happy to pitch it if you want to shout it out. Is there a specific kind of student you're looking for? Thank you, Ellie. Great question. Anybody want to take that one? Tell us about the kind of students you might have taken. Sam, how about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I was about to take it. So there isn't a any specific, you don't need a specific background to be part of this project. I think just an interest and a passion in wildlife is obviously beneficial, but there's no need for that at all. I think something that I found working with volunteers from all different backgrounds is that everybody brings their own little element to a project. So, you know, we've had people from all different backgrounds, all different locations, all different ages, and everybody brings something a little bit different. So there's no real blueprint of the student that we're looking for on this project. I think if you're passionate and you're willing and you're interested in wildlife, I think that's a brilliant start. And everybody brings something different to the table.
Right. Thank you, Sam. Is that helpful to understand? Yeah. I think I was thinking road builders, maybe engineers might be quite cool as well, actually.
Yeah.
So I mean, just for you guys to say, we're a full spectrum university, and the college itself is full spectrum in terms of students' levels of study and also areas of study. So, you know, we've got PhD students, members of our community, as well as undergrads coming their first year, right across all disciplines and areas across art, sciences, and humanities. Okay.
Hi, sorry, I just wanted to ask, I'm currently on placement, and I will be till the end of July next year. So
Yes.
I don't think there'll be any opportunity for me to actually go to Zimbabwe and help, unfortunately. But I wanted to ask if there was any way of sort of getting involved, even just like sort of behind the scenes data analysis or anything, or even out with the project, ways that I could get involved. I'm just really interested in all the work that you're doing.
Isla, thanks so much. I'm gonna maybe that's the one for Catherine in particular, but can I add something first? Isla, I hope you're coming back to college from placement at some point, yeah?
Yeah, coming back next year.
So our ambition is this is not a one-off shot, okay? That we would like to try and build a relationship that we could sustain at least on an annual basis. And I'll just address another question I was asked earlier by somebody else, which is, so what happens if I'm graduating this summer? I think we understand that people might graduate this summer. If it comes after that, that's fine. The period of application and getting involved is still within the period of somebody's student timeline. Yeah, I mean, it's not open to, you know, long-term graduates right now, but we wouldn't want to shut somebody out of it who was graduating in July this year. So just to say, Isla, you know, it might not fall right for you this time, but it might fall right next time. And Catherine, is that okay? Is there anything you can say about the possibility for other forms of engagement with the research?
Yeah, I'm always happy, especially to just talk to students and see what their interests align with what sort of data we have. So please, I can send you my email address, or Sam can pass it along, or I think someone has it. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to have that conversation with you, or to anyone else who wants to have that conversation.
Thanks,
That's
Catherine.
really kind. Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to address this one?
Other question, how long will the students be going for?
No, how many students?
Oh, how many? So Sam, it's 24, right? 24 people can be
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So we've got a maximum of 24 students. We've actually set dates. We've set dates for next year, which is the 31st of July to the 7th of August. I'll put that into the chat now. And for that one, we're starting with 10 to 12 students. We're going to see kind of what your uptake and what your interest is. But the first one, we're thinking 12, but then in the future, up to 24.
Okay, so helpful. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Does anybody else want to ask anything? Okay, I mean, this is going to be a classic. What's going to happen is we're going to break out, and then I'm sure there'll be more conversation here and later. I'm just really mindful of the time because we asked you very kindly as our guest tonight to give us through to UK GMT we're on right now till 2030, which is 8:30 in the evening, and we're 1 minute from there. So I don't really want to take more of your time beyond that. You kindly gifted us. So if it's okay, I'd like to just close up by saying a huge thank you. So it's a particular thank you to Catherine, Nathalie, Candice, Reilly, and Sam for joining us. I'm shouting at you. Perhaps I don't need to shout. Sorry, guys. It's because you're a long way away. For joining us from wherever you are in the world right now, particularly for the time zones issues. And of course, a huge thank you for everybody coming tonight, for Kieran for coming, supporting us, and enabling this to happen, for Steph for being the originating idea by it. So can I just ask everybody to join us in saying thanks to colleagues online for a great contribution to this evening. And we hope if you're going back to Christmas lunch, that it's a great one for you. And whatever the season holds, may it bring you peace and joy wherever you are. Okay. So we'll take you offline now if that's all right. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.